Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Living a Full Life. I'm Dr. Enrico Dolcecore, and this week we'll be reviewing cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone. And over the last series of podcasts, we talked about sleep and how to get in proper sleep from many different aspects, from mattresses to pillows. And then we got into melatonin. Made sense after talking about sleep for a few weeks, how melatonin cycles work and the circadian rhythm. If you missed that one, go back and listen to that short podcast. That was great. And it brought us into this one, cortisol. And we're going to go into some hormones over the next few episodes. So these are going to be great. We're going to dive deep into them because hormones are what makes everything happen in our bodies. And by understanding them, we can have a better understanding on why we feel the way we feel. So I think it's really important. So melatonin, we talked about. Now cortisol. Cortisol, when you quickly ask people who may have heard about it, they'll say it's the stress hormone. It is the stress hormone. It plays an effect when we get stressed. But once we get stressed, I think a lot of different hormones can go out of sync and overproduce or underproduce because of the stress response. So not just cortisol. It just typically shows up with people who have bad sleep and are stressed. When they take their blood work or urine analysis, cortisol will show up to be a little bit higher. So that's how it got its name of being the stress hormone. But let's dive deep into cortisol. What is it? It's a hormone. It's a hormone. It's produced by the adrenal glands, which sit on top of the kidneys. So the adrenal glands are connected to your kidneys. They sit on top of them and they produce a few different hormones, but cortisol is one of them. So adrenal fatigue is usually lied with cortisol, but that's where it plays a role. And it plays a role to respond to stress, but also through many normal body processes that we'll talk about in this podcast. So cortisol is produced in the adrenal glands, and it starts at the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is in the brain and the pituitary gland. And when stress is detected, any type of sympathetic or parasympathetic stress, the hypothalamus releases corticotropin releasing hormone, CRH, which signals the pituitary gland to release adrenocorticotropic hormone. All of these are stimulants to get to the final. This in turn tells the adrenal glands to release the cortisol into the bloodstream. So there's a chain of events that happens. Your brain has to detect stress. Hypothalamus sends signals to the pituitary. Pituitary sends the hormone. Hormones are how the body communicates, by the way. They're proteins that are synthesized within our body to communicate. So these chemicals go all through the body and they signal different receptors to do different things. It's like knocking on each door of all the systems in the body. So you send out the messenger knocks on the door, says, hey, time to wake up. And then they do their thing. So cortisol helps regulate our metabolism. It controls how the body uses fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, pretty much everything. So when we have a stress response, hence it becomes difficult to lose weight or we end up putting on weight because cortisol does play a huge factor in that. So it plays a role in controlling blood sugar by increasing the levels of glucose in the bloodstream. It assists with memory formation. Cortisol also has anti-inflammatory properties, helping manage the body's immune response. And it regulates blood pressure and helps the body respond to stress. Those are its major playing roles. And I bullet pointed those because it's a vast array of things that it does, not just ruins our metabolism or causes us stress. It's a response to stress. And in that, it also has some other good things that have to happen. And we talked about the circadian rhythm in the last podcast and how cortisol starts to increase through the night and is at its highest in the morning. You say, well, if it's a stress causing hormone, why is it highest in the morning when we wake up? Because it's what wakes you up. So a good circadian rhythm and a good cortisol rhythm through the day, it has that natural cycle where it peaks in the morning because it's time to wake up. It's not necessarily stressful, but it's enough to wake you up and get you going. If it's too peaceful and you got no cortisol response, you'll never wake up. You just want to sleep all day. You'll feel tired. So that's what happens. And once we wake up, then the cortisol starts to diminish as the day goes down. We stop producing it until nighttime when we fall asleep and trigger that system again. But it also plays a role in blood pressure. It also plays a role in the anti-inflammatory properties in the body, and it also assists with memory function. So it's got some value to it. All the hormones and all the chemicals in the body have value, of course. There's not one more important thing than another, which we'll digress later. I don't know if we'll get into testosterone and hormones later, but why we emphasize on certain ones so much. for the aesthetic changes that we get is really causing major problems today. I think 10 years from now, we're going to look back and see all these hormone clinics that have been doing hormone replacement therapy for people. And we'll look back and be like, why do we do that to people? Why do we ruin them in the moment to make them feel good that 1 year when they did it? And then for the next 10 years, completely ruin their hormone systems. We're going to look back at this and be like, man, that was bad. We should not have done that. So that's why we're getting into this whole hormone spiel here. But let's go back to cortisol. How does cortisol affect the body? So it's an acute stress response. So in a high stress situation, cortisol helps provide energy by increasing glucose availability. This is part of the fight or flight response. So it produces it through the glycogen stores in the body, tells them all to release glucose into the bloodstream so that we're ready to rock and roll and have energy immediately for what we need to do. Stress response can be many different things. It can be right before an exam, those butterflies in your stomach when you sit down to write that exam and you're stressed from the studying and all that. You've got glucose running through your body to get you through that test, or right before a major event, maybe before an athletic event or a championship game or whatever it may be, something you've been working for, a dance recital, whatever it is that you've been working hard on. That stress response or that stage anxiety that we get, it pumps us full of glucose so that we're ready to get through that event and we don't pass out doing it. Make sense? Then there's chronic stress. So when cortisol levels remain high for extended periods, it can lead to weight gain, high blood pressure, sleep problems, and increased risk of anxiety, depression, and other health issues. It can also weaken the immune system over time. This is why we start to get chronically sick over time, is because we've been chronically stressed for too long. So the typical American life cycle is you're born, you have a lot of fun. When you're 2 years old, 3 years old, everyone's feeding you, changing your diapers, life is good. Then you're 5 and you're getting toys and screen time and going to class and starting to learn, sociology type things and dealing with other people. And life's good. You're still being fed, life's good. And then we get to our teens and now responsibilities start to kick in. Puberty kicks in. Now we're worried about what other people think of us. Social factors. Stress starts to climb right about there. And this is in a healthy home, by the way. This is just, healthy parents taking care of healthy kids. I'm just giving the healthy example. I mean, stress can start very young if there's a stressful situation in the family as well. So we're talking about just, the healthy pattern of the cycle of life. I hope it should be for most people, but unfortunately, it's not for everyone. So take that as a grain of salt. So as we go through this, then we get into our, whatever it is. We may go to college, we may not. Now we got to work. Now the stress kicks in. Now there's bills. So now we have the societal stress, right? It starts at about 15 to 25 years old. In between there, some time. We start to get that. And that's where chronic stress starts. And we wonder by the time we're in our 40s, why we feel the way we do. Can't lose weight, lethargic, autoimmune stuff going on. Our bodies are shutting down. We have hormone issues. We got immunity issues. We have sleep issues. We got chronic pain. The chronic stress thing starts over time. So cortisol just depletes the system over time. It's very difficult to restore. It takes a lot of effort. It's possible and it's done. And we've helped lots of patients do it. But it takes time to get through this and reestablish the proper rhythms of this and telling the body, hey, it's okay. And usually it's a combination of emotional stress relief, physical stress relief, and chemical stress relief. We have to, because those are the three factors of stress: mental, physical, and emotional. Mental, physical, and chemical are the three stresses that cause, or the three factors in life that cause everything, both stress and that. So we help them. I want to plant a seed that chronic stress could have started a long, long time ago. It's not just one event. It can be one major event, one major traumatic event in life that, sets us off. But it's usually a compounding of everything of just living life that can cause this. And we have to take things mentally well to stay well. And then the cortisol rhythms, normally cortisol rhythms are highest in the morning, helping you wake, and gradually decrease throughout the day to allow rest and recovery at night, like I explained earlier. So I think the bulk of the podcast is like, great. Thanks, Dr. D. This all makes sense. Cortisol is a hormone. It's the stress hormone, but it also plays major factors as far as my blood pressure, plays major factors about my memory. I'm going to take it a little bit more seriously, maybe even get it checked, see where my cortisol is at. It's a fairly cheap test. You can run a cortisol test easily through your primary or do your own test kit. It can be mailed to your home. Worth knowing, it's a saliva test that you do over the course of 2 days, and you take 4 or 5 samples, both, it'll tell you when, after eating, midday, right before you go to bed, and then the next morning, do it again. It could be urine or saliva. And you get the report back showing you your, not circadian rhythm, but your cortisol rhythm through the 24-hour period. It's really important to know, and and you might have to do this again, in 6 months, just to compare side by side. But how can we maintain proper cortisol levels and cycles? Here are my 5 tips. Stress management is number one by far. Usually when I give you the 5 tips, they're just randomly placed in no particular order. These are the most important to least important. Number one is stress management. For once in one of my podcasts, it's not diet or exercise, but number one is stress management. Otherwise, cortisol is going to be fueling you like kerosene for the rest of your life and just lighting the fires to burn hotter in your body. So stress management practices like mental health therapy. I mean, meditation, mindfulness comes up all the time, but for Pete's sake, I'll tell you what, a good therapist can go a long, long way. Do you have to go to them every week like The Sopranos? No, but you can go to them at a frequency. Same thing with chiropractic. I tell my patients, once we get to a healthy state, chiropractic works its best on frequency. You maintain a frequency, and that becomes your wellness regimen. That's the same thing with mental health. Once you get to a point of understanding and self-awareness through therapy, it could take a few months, could take a few years. And once you get there, you regularly continue to use mental therapy hopefully for the rest of your life, because you found some good people to lean on. But meditation, deep breathing exercises, mindfulness, prayer can reduce stress and regulate cortisol on your own. You can do this on your own. You should use all those little things. But I went straight to mental health counseling because it is worth its weight in gold when you find those good therapists. They truly help you unwind the mental stress from a lifelong life of stress. We've all been stressed. We've all gone through our things. So number one, stress management. Find out how to really get that working for you, because it will make and change your life for sure, and how you function, because then you not just cortisol, but all stress response. Being able to manage that is a gift. Healthy sleep. Number 2 on this list, consistent sleep patterns, and healthy sleep is based on frequency. Every 24 hours, we make sure we sleep, right? Every day we make sure we sleep. It's on a cycle. It's pretty much the most consistent cycle most humans on the planet follow is sleep. They may not eat well, they may not exercise, they may not think well, they may not write in their journals, they may not do what they say they're going to do, but sleep, I think, is pretty much forced upon everyone to do every 24 hours. So what ends up happening is you want to keep that frequency the same. And the best thing to do is by habit, creating that rhythm properly so that your body knows that 10 o'clock or whatever it is, between 9:30 and 11:30 every night, we're going to sleep. And you go to sleep. And between 5:30 and 7:30 every morning, you wake up. And you just do that for the rest of your life, if you can, as long as your jobs allow that. So you do that, and you maintain that cycle. The frequency is what it's all about. Patterns help maintain natural cortisol cycles. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep and try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day. That's number 2. Number 3, balanced diet. You knew this was coming. Eating regular and avoiding excess sugar and processed foods helps blood sugar spikes, which can cause cortisol levels to fluctuate. Remember, cortisol plays a role in injecting glucose into the bloodstream during stressful situations. If we constantly bombard our system with too much glucose and too much sugar, cortisol is like, holy smokes, we're always stressed, because it doesn't know. It's like sitting on the sidelines, like, okay, I put glucose into the system, into the game. When are you guys coming off? How are you guys running for so long? Like, come on, we're playing hockey here. You got to get out. You got to get off the ice every 40 seconds. What are you doing? You guys have been on the ice for 4 minutes. You're going to fall apart. So cortisol is sitting there like, hey, man, we got to manage this glucose. And we constantly bombard the system with this processed food and sugar. We keep ourselves in a perpetual stressful state, chemically, mental, chemical, physical. Remember that. Balanced diet, exercise. Now, how do you burn glucose in the system? How do you efficiently mobilize glucose in the system? It's with activity, moving the body. So as you move, even walking shows 20-minute walks 4 times a week shows this regular movement of glucose into glycogen into the muscle stores, which is perfect. So exercise, regular physical activity can help lower cortisol levels, but too much intense exercise can raise them. Moderation is key. Exercise, moderate to mild exercise is the key to the rest of your life. These high intensity things that we put ourselves into, we join a new boot camp, not only for my chiropractic brain of fixing people who break themselves every time they join a boot camp. You're like, hey, I'm 51 now and I haven't worked out in 15 years. My friend opened up a boot camp and she's lean and mean and strong. And I want to be lean and mean and strong. And I'm going to join this boot camp. So you sign up, you show up on Monday, and you do 4,952 burpees. And then the next day, you're calling the chiropractor because you broke every bone in your body. And you're like, "Oh, why did this happen to me?" It happened to you because you haven't worked out in 15 years. You're 51. And that is way too intense. Way too intense. You do not need to poop your pants or vomit when you exercise. Please, people, like, it's crazy. Should be a comic, right? Exercise mild to moderate for the rest of your life. That's the exercise you need to do. You can challenge yourself every now and then. You can sign up for a 10K run, half marathon, a marathon, and work your way up to that, and then go to that day and do it. But get the right coaching for that, because you'll realize how to do that properly. So regular, mild to moderate exercise every day. That's it. I work out. I'm in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. 3 of those days I add cardio to it. It's a 45-minute moderate to low intensity, steady state cardio on the treadmill for 45 minutes or on the stair stepper for 45 minutes at a low. It just keeps me in that fat burn. I do it to just not get fat. That's it. The rest, the strengthening, is why I work out, is to keep strong and maintain lean muscle mass. That's me talking as a man, but the rules still apply for the female body as well. Great. And then number 5, if you've been keeping track, there's one more: caffeine and alcohol directly influence cortisol. So limit the intake of caffeine and alcohol, as both can disrupt cortisol production. Right? Best time to drink a cup of coffee as early in the morning as possible, because your cortisol is at the highest right there, and coffee can help reduce it. Best time to drink alcohol? The answer is never, as your doctor, but late in the evening is probably the safest time to do that for that every now and then. Good episode, bad episode? Let me know. Leave comments, share, like, promote, get this podcast out there. If you have any questions, our functional medical side of our practice is virtual and in person, and we can do this anywhere. If you have questions or if you're running into problems, contact us. We can help you there. Chiropractic, we can help you find a good chiropractor no matter where you live, whatever part of the country you're in or whatever part of town you're in. Have a great week. Stay well, stay healthy, and take care.